The scream tore through the silence and Emily said, "No, you can't do this, Daniel." Her arms wrapped around little Chloe, whose wide eyes shimmered with terror. Daniel's face twisted with fury as he shouted, "You always think you're the victim." The apartment walls shook as he stormed to the door, and Emily's heart thundered so loud she thought it might burst. Chloe whispered, "Mommy, don't let him take me," her small voice trembling against Emily's chest. Emily tightened her hold and said, "I will never let anyone hurt you again." Daniel's heavy footsteps echoed like thunder, the door slammed with a violent crash, and the sharp sound made Chloe cry louder. The sirens outside screamed, growing closer, painting dread into every corner of the room. Emily thought, how did it come to this? How could the man I once loved turn into this nightmare? Tears burned her eyes, but she swallowed them back, because she had to be strong now. She kissed Chloe's hair and said, "I promise you're safe with me." Outside the sirens drew nearer, and Daniel's shadow lingered in her mind. In that moment, Emily knew everything had changed, and she whispered, "This fight isn't over." Emily sat frozen in the dark apartment, Chloe's sobs echoing in the hollow silence. She whispered, "We're okay, baby," though her voice cracked with doubt. The sound of the door still rattled inside her head like thunder. She looked at the cracked frame and thought, that door isn't the only thing broken. Chloe tugged at her sleeve and said, "Why was Daddy so mad?" Emily swallowed hard and kissed her forehead. "Because sometimes people forget what love means," she said. She rocked Chloe gently, forcing her own tears back, because weakness wasn't an option now. The sirens faded outside, leaving her with the heavy breathing of her child and the emptiness pressing in. She thought of the sacrifices, late hours, missed meals, every lonely night spent working to keep them afloat. It had all been for Chloe. She whispered, "You're all I have, and I'll fight with everything to keep you safe." The flickering lamp cast long shadows, and Emily stared into the darkness. Something told her tonight was only the beginning. The silence stretched until Emily's mind drifted to memories of endless nights. She remembered scrubbing dishes in a diner, her feet aching, while Chloe slept on a booth with her jacket as a blanket. Emily said softly, "I worked so you'd never feel hunger, Chloe." She recalled walking through freezing rain, pay envelope clutched, praying it would stretch enough to cover rent and groceries. Daniel had been gone then too, chasing his own life. Chloe stirred, her small voice sleepy. "You're tired, Mommy." Emily stroked her hair and said, "As long as I see you smile, I'll never stop." The images of every sacrifice, every night spent working instead of resting, burned her with equal pride and exhaustion. She thought, every tear was worth it, but will it be enough now? Shadows crept higher on the walls as she pulled Chloe closer and whispered, "You are my reason to breathe, my reason to fight." Emily wiped her face and stared at the door, the crack in the wood like a wound that mirrored her own. She whispered, "He won't stop until he gets what he wants." Chloe slept against her chest now, unaware of the storm rising. Emily's chest tightened as she thought of the betrayal that had shattered her trust long ago, the secrets Daniel had hidden, the debts, the lies. She thought, "I should have known then, but I believed love could fix anything." The shadows stretched across the apartment like accusing fingers. She leaned her head back and said aloud, "Not anymore. I won't let the past destroy us again." For the first time tonight, her voice carried steel beneath the cracks. She kissed Chloe's hair and whispered, "You'll never face what I faced, not if I can stop it." Outside, the night deepened, and inside her resolve took root. The air grew still, heavy with the weight of a promise. Emily whispered, "He thinks he can break me, but he doesn't know who I've become." Chloe shifted in her sleep, her tiny hand gripping Emily's shirt. Emily brushed her hair gently and said, "You'll never be alone, not as long as I'm breathing." Her mind replayed the look in Daniel's eyes, rage mixed with betrayal, and she felt a chill crawl her spine. But she also remembered every night she had survived, every moment she had carried Chloe through pain, fear, and loneliness. She stood slowly, carrying Chloe toward her bedroom, whispering, "Sleep, sweetheart. I'll carry the weight now." Placing Chloe gently in bed, Emily lingered at the doorway. Her eyes glowed with fire, and she thought, "This fight won't be easy, but I will not lose." She whispered, "This is just the beginning." The courthouse loomed over Emily as she clutched Chloe's small hand tighter. Emily whispered, "We'll get through this together," though her stomach knotted with dread. The clerk called her name, and her knees nearly buckled, but she straightened. Chloe looked up and said, "Mommy, is this where they decide if I stay with you?" Emily's throat closed, and she forced a smile. "Yes, sweetheart, but don't be scared," she said, masking the terror beneath her calm. Inside, the sterile walls echoed with footsteps and murmurs that made her feel small, powerless. Daniel's voice drifted down the hall, sharp and confident, cutting like glass. She froze, then pushed forward, whispering to herself, "This isn't about me anymore. This is about her." Her heart pounded as the courtroom doors opened, swallowing her into a world of judgment. She gripped Chloe's hand tighter, whispering, "I won't let him win." Emily sat at her office desk, the clock ticking louder than usual. Her boss leaned in with narrowed eyes and said, "Your personal life can't interfere with your work, Emily." Her chest tightened, but she replied, "I've never let my job slip." He smirked, "One more distraction and you're out." The words cut deeper than he knew, threatening not just her income but Chloe's future. She thought of late bills, groceries waiting to be bought, and whispered, "I can't lose this." Chloe's drawing of a sun taped to the monitor caught her eye, reminding her what was at stake. She clenched her fists under the desk, her knuckles white with suppressed rage. Emily said softly, "I'll fix this," though her voice was barely audible. She stood straighter, determined to hold on even as the ground beneath her crumbled. Emily met Sarah at a small cafe, her hands trembling around the coffee cup. Sarah, her best friend, leaned forward and said, "You can't do this alone, Emily. Let me help." Emily sighed, "I don't want to be a burden." Sarah shook her head. "You've carried too much for too long." The warmth in her friend's eyes broke the wall Emily had built. Tears threatened, but she blinked them back. Chloe sat beside her, scribbling on a napkin, unaware of the storm. Emily whispered, "He's turning everything against me." Sarah touched her hand gently and said, "Then fight harder. You're stronger than you think." Emily felt her heart crack open under the weight of truth. She thought, maybe I can lean on someone just this once. That night, Emily tucked Chloe into bed, brushing hair from her face. Chloe whispered, "Mommy, I don't want Daddy to take me away." Emily's heart cracked, but she smiled softly. "You're not going anywhere without me," she said, voice trembling. Chloe asked, "Why is he so mad?" Emily kissed her forehead and said, "Sometimes people forget how to love." Chloe clutched her stuffed rabbit and said, "But you'll always love me, right?" Emily's eyes watered and she whispered, "Always. Forever." She lingered in the doorway, watching Chloe's chest rise and fall, a small island of peace in a raging sea. She thought, "This child is my anchor. I will never let her drift away." The house creaked in silence, but Emily's determination filled the emptiness with fire. The next morning, a sharp knock shattered the quiet. Emily opened the door to find a manila envelope on the floor. Her hands shook as she tore it open. Inside were court papers stamped with bold letters, "Custody hearing." Her breath caught. Chloe padded barefoot to the door and said, "What is it, Mommy?" Emily forced a smile, "Just papers, sweetheart." But her eyes betrayed the truth. She closed the door quickly, leaning against it as her knees weakened. Fear clawed at her chest, but determination burned hotter. She thought, "He wants a war, and he'll get one. But I won't lose my child." She pressed the papers to her chest and whispered, "This fight just got real." Emily sat in the courtroom, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. Daniel's lawyer rose confidently and said, "My client believes Emily is unfit." The words pierced her like a blade. Daniel leaned back smugly, his eyes sharp with malice. Emily whispered, "Lies," under her breath, but the judge's gaze made her feel exposed. Chloe sat outside with Sarah, unaware of the venom inside these walls. Emily's chest heaved as photographs and twisted words painted her as reckless. She wanted to scream, but instead she steadied her breath and thought, I cannot let him break me here. The murmurs of the courtroom blurred into a low hum, and her heart pounded so loudly she thought everyone could hear. She whispered, For you, Chloe, clenching her fists again. Later that day, Emily stormed out of the courthouse, her heart thundering. She pulled her phone and dialed her old friend Mark, hoping for comfort. Mark's voice cracked through the line, Emily, I'm sorry. Her blood ran cold. Sorry for what? She asked, fear crawling through her veins. He hesitated and said, Daniel came to me. I told him things I shouldn't have. Emily's chest collapsed under the weight of betrayal. You gave him ammunition against me? She whispered, her voice breaking. Mark said, I didn't think it would hurt you. She pressed her forehead against the cold brick wall and whispered, You've destroyed me. Tears spilled, but anger burned hotter. She ended the call, her reflection in the glass door staring back at her like a stranger. The next day, Emily sat across from the social worker in a cramped office. The woman's eyes were unreadable as she said, We must evaluate if Chloe is in a stable home. Emily gripped the chair tightly and answered, She is safe with me. The social worker scribbled notes, unmoved. Emily thought of Chloe's laughter, the meals they shared, and whispered, She's my world. The woman looked up coldly and said, Daniel has raised concerns about your long work hours. Emily swallowed hard, rage boiling, but forced calm. I work for her, not against her, she said firmly. Her words echoed in the hollow office, but doubt hung heavy in the air. She realized the system wasn't built for her. It was built to question her every step. Emily returned home late that night, exhaustion weighing her down. She counted the few bills in her wallet, barely enough for groceries. Chloe sat at the table coloring, her innocence shielding her from the truth. Wow, Emily whispered, everything will be okay, though fear rattled her chest. Her stomach growled, but she pushed a plate toward Chloe and said, Eat, sweetheart. She thought, how much longer can I stretch myself before breaking? Her eyes burned as she stared at the empty fridge. Chloe looked up and said, Mommy, you don't eat much. Emily smiled softly, hiding the truth. I'm not hungry, baby. As Chloe ate, Emily leaned against the counter, whispering silently to herself, I can't fail her now. Days later, Daniel appeared at the playground while Emily watched Chloe on the swings. He smirked and said, You're slipping, Emily. Her jaw clenched, but she replied, Leave us alone. He leaned closer, whispering, The court listens to me, not you. Emily's fists shook at her sides, her chest filled with fury. She said, You're using lies to steal her from me. Daniel's grin widened. And it's working. Chloe called, Mommy, push me higher. Emily turned, forcing a smile for her child, her tears hidden. Daniel walked away, his shadow stretching long in the fading sunlight. Emily whispered, I'll fight you with everything I have. Her voice trembled, but inside, steel had formed. Emily froze as whispers spread across the grocery store aisle. A tabloid paper sat near the counter. Daniel's words in bold. Mother unfit, child in danger. Her stomach twisted. She whispered, He won't stop until he ruins me. Chloe tugged her sleeve and said, Mommy, why is your picture here? Emily's throat tightened, but she forced a smile. It's nothing, baby, she said softly. But the cashier's eyes lingered too long, heavy with judgment. Emily's hands shook as she paid, each coin a reminder of her dwindling strength. She thought, He wants me humiliated, broken in front of strangers. Her chest heaved as she pulled Chloe closer. She whispered, They don't know us. They don't know the truth. She left with fire in her steps, but inside, her spirit cracked. Back at home, Emily collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. Sarah rushed in and said, What happened? Emily choked, He's poisoning everyone against me. Her body trembled, tears staining her palms. Sarah knelt beside her and said, Then fight back, Emily. Don't let him win. Emily's voice broke, I'm so tired, Sarah. I can't keep standing when the ground is gone. Sarah grabbed her shoulders firmly and said, "You're stronger than you realize." Chloe peeked from the hallway, her small voice saying, "Mommy?" Emily looked up, forcing a smile, though her heart splintered. She whispered to Sarah, "I can't fall apart in front of her." Sarah nodded, her grip tightening as if to anchor Emily in place. That night, Emily tucked Chloe into bed, but Chloe's wide eyes glistened. "Mommy, will Daddy take me away?" she whispered. Emily's heart tore in two, but she said gently, "No, sweet girl, I'll always be with you." Chloe clutched her stuffed rabbit tighter. "But they said bad things about you at school." Emily froze, her chest aching. She stroked Chloe's hair and said, "Sometimes people repeat lies, but the truth is stronger." Chloe pressed her face against Emily's chest and said, "I don't want to leave you." Emily kissed her forehead and whispered, "You never will." Her tears dampened Chloe's hair, but she hid them in the dim light. She thought, even her innocence isn't safe anymore. Later, Emily sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at unpaid bills scattered like threats. The dim light buzzed faintly. She whispered, "How much longer can I hold everything together?" Her stomach twisted as she thought of Chloe's school fees and groceries. She closed her eyes and saw memories of Daniel's lies, the debts he left behind, and the moment she realized love had been nothing but a chain. She gripped the edge of the table, nails digging into the wood, whispering, "No more." She stood abruptly, knocking over a chair. Her body trembled, but her voice steadied. "I will not let him win. I will not let this system break me." The shadows stretched long across the floor as if testing her resolve. As dawn broke, Emily stood by the cracked door Daniel had once slammed, staring at its scarred wood. She whispered, "This is what he left behind, damage and fear." Chloe padded into the room and hugged her leg. Emily looked down, smiling through exhaustion. "We're stronger than this door, than his anger," she said softly. Chloe asked, "Even if he tries again?" Emily knelt, looking into her daughter's eyes, and whispered, "Especially then." She hugged Chloe tightly, feeling warmth seep into her bones. She thought, "The system may be against me, but I'll fight harder. For her, for us." The rising sun poured light across their faces, igniting the first flicker of hope in days. Emily sat alone on the couch when the knock came. Her heart stilled as she opened the door to see a figure she hadn't expected in years. Her older brother Michael. His face was lined with guilt, his voice low. "Emily, it's time I came back." She froze, anger and longing colliding. "You left when I needed you most," she said sharply. Michael looked at Chloe, his voice cracking. "I couldn't face what I'd become." Emily's chest burned with memories of abandonment, yet Chloe's curious eyes softened her anger. Emily whispered, "Why now?" Michael pulled a file from his coat, whispering, "Because I've been watching, and I know what Daniel's hiding." Emily's breath hitched, fear and hope fighting within her. She whispered, "If you're lying, I'll never forgive you." Emily sat at the table, staring at the old file Michael slid across. She whispered, "What is this?" He said, "Proof Daniel lied about debts, about money that could destroy his case." Emily's fingers trembled as she flipped through documents showing hidden accounts, fraudulent signatures, betrayal, etched in ink. Chloe played in the corner, humming, unaware of the storm reshaping their lives. Emily looked up, eyes narrowed. "Why didn't you come sooner?" Michael lowered his gaze, whispering, "Cowardice." Emily's breath shook, torn between rage and relief. She said, "You broke me once, Michael. Don't fail me again." He nodded, voice firm, "I won't." Hope flickered, but it came wrapped in shadows of distrust. The night grew heavier as Emily paced, holding the file tightly. She whispered, "If this is true, I can turn everything around." Michael said, "It's dangerous, Emily. Daniel won't forgive exposure." Emily's eyes flashed. "He's already taken everything. What more can he do?" Chloe's laughter in the corner reminded Emily what was at stake. She stopped, staring at her daughter's fragile innocence. Michael added, "This could put you at risk too." Emily clenched the file to her chest and whispered, I'll risk myself, but never her. Michael looked at her, regret softening his eyes. You've grown stronger than I ever imagined. Emily's voice trembled with steel. I didn't have a choice. Emily sat across from Sarah at the cafe the next day, her voice shaking as she revealed the file. Sarah's eyes widened. This could be the weapon you need. Emily whispered, Michael gave it to me, but I don't know if I can trust him. Sarah leaned forward, gripping her hand tightly. Trust the evidence, not the man. Emily exhaled shakily, the weight of betrayal and hope colliding in her chest. Chloe tugged at Emily's sleeve. Mommy, can we go home? Emily kissed her daughter's hair and whispered, Soon, sweetheart. She turned back to Sarah, voice steady now. I'll use this. I won't let Daniel take her from me. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt the spark of fire return to her soul. That night, Emily stood alone at the window, the city lights flickering beyond the glass. She whispered, This fight just changed. The file lay open on the table behind her, truths glowing under the dim lamp. Michael's words echoed in her ears, Sarah's encouragement in her heart. Chloe slept peacefully in the next room, her soft breathing reminding Emily of her purpose. She pressed her hand against the window, whispering, For you, Chloe, I'll burn every lie he's built. Her reflection in the glass looked stronger, sharper, a woman forged from pain. She thought, I am no longer the victim. I am the storm. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as Emily entered, clutching the file Michael had given her. She whispered to herself, This is it. Daniel glanced at her with a smirk, confident as ever. His lawyer stood saying, My client has evidence of neglect. Emily's stomach twisted, but she rose, voice steady. I have evidence too. The judge's eyes narrowed as she held up the file. She thought, This is the moment that changes everything. Chloe waited outside with Sarah, her absence pressing heavy on Emily's heart. Daniel leaned back, whispering smugly, You'll lose anyway. Emily met his gaze, fire in her voice. Not this time. The air thickened with tension, every second dragging like eternity. Emily's lawyer stood tall, presenting the documents. These records show Daniel hid assets and lied under oath. Gasps echoed in the room. Daniel's face darkened, his smugness cracking. Emily's heart pounded, her breath shallow. She thought finally, his mask is slipping. The judge scanned the papers, brow furrowing. Daniel shouted, This is fabricated. Emily leaned forward, whispering, It's your handwriting, Daniel. He glared at her, fists tightening. Her chest swelled with both fear and victory. She thought, Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, has led here. Sarah's face flashed in her mind. Chloe's laughter echoed, giving her courage. She whispered, This ends today. The courtroom erupted with tension. Daniel's lawyer scrambled, shouting objections, but the judge silenced him with a raised hand. Emily stood, voice trembling yet fierce. I've fought alone for years, but I will not let lies destroy my child's future. Daniel sneered, You're pathetic. Emily's chest burned as she shouted back, I may be broken, but I am not weak. Gasps filled the air. Her legs shook, but her heart was steel. She thought, This is more than custody. It's survival. She glanced at the empty chair where Chloe would have sat and whispered, I will not fail you. The judge's gavel struck, calling order, but the room pulsed with electricity. Sarah held Chloe outside in the hallway, listening as the muffled shouts echoed. Chloe looked up, whispering, Is Mommy okay? Sarah hugged her tightly and said, She's stronger than you know. Inside, Emily stood trembling, her lawyer's hand resting firmly on her arm. He whispered, You did well. Emily's chest rose and fell, her mind racing. She thought, I can't break now. She needs me. Daniel sat seething, sweat on his brow, whispering curses under his breath. Emily looked at him and whispered, Your lies are crumbling. Her body shook, but her eyes blazed with defiance. She thought, This isn't just about me. This is about every scar, every night I fought alone. And I will win. The judge leaned forward, voice firm, Mr. Daniel's credibility is in question. Daniel's face paled as the weight of truth bore down. Emily's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break her chest. Tears pricked her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She whispered to herself, "Chloe, this is for you." Daniel slammed his fist on the table, shouting, "This isn't over." The judge silenced him with a gavel strike. Emily sat, finally breathing as if for the first time in years. She thought, "We are so close. Just one more step." Sarah's voice replayed in her head, "You're stronger than you realize." Her lips curved in the faintest smile, the spark of victory flickering at last. The gavel's echo still rang in Emily's ears as the judge declared custody in her favor. She sat frozen, disbelief flooding her chest. Her lawyer whispered, "You did it." Emily's hands shook, covering her face as tears finally fell. Daniel stormed out, rage trailing behind him like smoke. She thought, "It's over. But why does victory feel so heavy?" Sarah appeared at her side, squeezing her hand. "You're free now," she said gently. Emily nodded, whispering, "Free, but scarred." The weight of years of fear pressed harder than the relief. She thought of Chloe's smile waiting outside, the only true victory she cared for. Standing, she whispered, "This is for her. Always for her." Outside the courthouse, Chloe ran into Emily's arms, squealing, "Mommy." Emily lifted her high, clutching her close as if she would never let go. Sarah smiled nearby, tears brimming in her eyes. Emily whispered, "You're safe, baby, you're safe." Chloe's small voice asked, "Does this mean I stay with you forever?" Emily kissed her forehead, whispering, "Forever and always." The weight of exhaustion lingered, but the light of hope flickered brighter. Michael approached quietly, guilt shadowing his face. Emily looked at him and nodded slightly. A silent truce formed in the aftermath of battle. She thought, "We survived. We're not broken anymore." Later that evening, Emily sat with Sarah at the kitchen table, the file of evidence now closed for good. Sarah said softly, "You've carried mountains and still kept walking." Emily smiled faintly, whispering, "I almost broke, but Chloe held me together." Chloe, sitting nearby, hummed while drawing, her innocence finally untouched by fear. Emily looked at Sarah and said, "You were my anchor when I thought I'd drown." Sarah laughed softly, wiping tears. "You've been the strongest woman I've ever known." Emily thought, "I survived the storm, but the scars remain." She whispered, "Strength doesn't mean I'm unscarred. It means I never gave up." Emily stood alone by Chloe's bedroom door, her hand resting gently on the frame. She whispered, "This room is your sanctuary now, my love." Inside, Chloe slept peacefully, the soft glow of fairy lights brushing her face with warmth. Emily thought, "This silence is worth every battle scar." The memories of lies, betrayals, and courtroom storms lingered, but tonight they didn't own her. She whispered, "We'll rebuild, step by step." Her chest ached, but it ached with healing instead of fear. She leaned her head against the door, closing her eyes, whispering, "The future is still unknown, but I am not afraid anymore." The apartment was quiet, only Chloe's soft breaths filling the air. Emily stood in the kitchen, looking out the window at the faint city lights. She whispered, "We're stronger now, and we'll never stop fighting." She carried a cup of tea to the sofa and sat, gazing toward Chloe's room. For the first time her smile was real, no mask, no pretense, only truth. She thought, "This piece isn't perfect, but it's ours." She closed her eyes, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight she had victory, she had freedom, and she had love.